we're looking at a really interesting thing right now where, because I'm in transportation and which is the part of the city that deals with the sort of space between buildings. With Hurricane Sandy, where there was so much flooding in many areas, there's a discussion now about raising the floor levels or the ground floor of buildings and literally making them higher. Well, once you do that, then the streets are, how do you get into the building? So there's this sort of discussion now about what does that mean for the streets and how are we going to coordinate those two things? I don't think there's there's an answer yet. So I think the architecture, the sort of built environment needs to be changed to accommodate that. I think the most important part of the city is where the ground floor or the first couple of stories of a building meet the sidewalk or the street. And how do you activate a street? How do you make people feel safe? How do you make them feel like they want to be there? How do you give them enough room so they can actually walk without, crashing into each other, and make room also for all of the other, transportation, mobility issues. But things like there were privately owned public spaces. There's a whole program where building owners got increased floor area in their buildings in exchange for making these public spaces at the ground floor of their buildings that were accessible as public space to people. So those, looking at new models for that, because some of those didn't work too well. They became either private, they feel private, they're not really part of the street, they don't have, they're not activated areas of the city. There's nothing you can do. They're just sort of empty spaces. So programming, we talk about how do you make activities happen on the street that will enliven it. And so that's got to be supported by the architecture. It's got to be supported by mixed uses. I think some of the new developments that are happening, the Hudson Yards and some of the new waterfront parks help with sort of destinations. So it's a very complicated kind of ecosystem, if you will.